All right. Peace and greetings, YouTubers. Vivek, now what is it that we've learned in this experience? I would like for you to stand up in front of the class and go to the board and share with everyone what it is that you have learned. Let's go to the clip.
You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
You know the wildest thing about that clip? All of that went down within the first 38 seconds of their interaction, okay? I couldn't even set my snack up good, okay? I had just put some popcorn in the microwave, and you know, it takes about a good minute before the kernels start popping. I normally make it on the stove, but I ain't had that kind of time. And so, 38 seconds in, okay, this man has just given this extensive introduction for Ann Coulter, talking about how great she is and all of these different things, and not even 38 seconds in, okay, I couldn't even get my popcorn going good. She was already hitting detonate. I'm like, damn. So, you know, look, bag in the microwave flat. Meanwhile, Vivek getting cooked on the screen. I said, okay, this is the kind of day we're about to have. Wow, right? And the thing is, it's just very interesting because Vivek has been running around here feeling invincible, and I knew at some point there was going to be somebody from that collective to remind him of exactly how they see him. And I'm not even really an I told you so kind of person, but because Vivek kept jumping into black folks' business and we kept catching strays and being collateral because he wanted to have his political come up, so he would latch onto every anti-black and white nationalist talking point to gain some points, I said, well, you know what? Now I'm going to be up in your business. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and camp out and wait to see this demise. But like I said, I had been saying eventually somebody was going to remind him, Exhibit A, because he thinks that's going to give him leverage with white voters. And it clearly isn't working because white voters are not leaving Trump. As a matter of fact, they will vote for DeSantis before they vote for RJ. They will vote for DeSantis and Trump before they vote for Tim Scott, and the same thing for Nikki Haley. And so it's interesting watching the three of them, you know, play Cupid Shuffle and musical chairs with the stupid opinions that they want to put out because they think that somehow they have a viable shot at being the GOP candidate. It's not happening. And just imagine, you know, erasing your entire identity for the idea of a come up. And the lesson to be learned is no matter how much you play into the game of white supremacy and anti-blackness, they're never going to accept you as one of them. You will never be in their space. They will let you do the work for them, and then when it's time to collect the reward, they come and take it. Exhibit B. A lot of times you have people who will erase their identity and align with white nationalism if it means that they can climb the ranks. And so Nikki Haley's been getting smoke for me. Vivek has been getting smoke for me. And so as I've been looking at the numbers from Iowa, I said, Vivek, you know, everything that I just said has come into fruition. So again, remember how I said, you can sit here and be a mouthpiece for white supremacy and play the game, but eventually there's not a glass ceiling for you. There is a cement ceiling because they're going to put the big stop there where, all right, you've gotten to as far as you're going to get. You've done what it is that we enjoy. But at the end of the day, we're always going to go back to our own, which is what white America is doing to Vivek Ramaswamy. He does not even stand a chance. And so now that we get to that, think of this. This man has said every white nationalist talking point that you can think of, right? And he right now, I haven't seen the numbers in the last 2 hours, but before I got on the live, he had less than 8% of the vote, right? I think Trump was at like 52. DeSantis might have been at 18 or 19, and Nikki was at 18 or 19, and Ramaswamy was in a far distant fourth, right? And this is where it gets even funnier, because again, who are the ones in the bottom two right now? Nikki, Ramaswamy. Trump didn't even campaign in Iowa. Barely. Trump is trying to take care of all of his cuckoo shenanigans stuff he got going with the court cases and everything. And DeSantis, I don't even know what his platform is. He has had a horrible platform since day one. Like I said, all he has is wokey woke, 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 wokey woke, woke, woke. That's all he talks about. And still, even DeSantis outpolled and outperformed Nikki. Now, this might be different by the time I turn this thing off and go look, but right now, DeSantis is still number 2. But again, Ramaswamy, if I put Ramaswamy and DeSantis in a room together, they both pretty much say exactly the same thing. Ramaswamy, why do you think you were not selected? Be for real. Oh, he quit. He's endorsed Trump for president. I knew he's going to do that. See, now he's trying to secure his vice president option. He's hoping Trump will bring him on as vice president. Play silly games, win silly prizes. And so that's Vivek Ramaswamy, who I was just talking about earlier. You did all of that. You did all of that. And look what it, $10 million an hour. And the fact that you had to drop out in the first race. Some people will at least ride it out a few states. They'll at least try to get the Super Tuesday. And if it's going bad, I'm like, all right, I quit. Iowa got you together. Woo, the way things work. Take note of the fact that there hasn't been any discourse on anything, there hasn't been any discussions, but the very first thing that Ann Coulter does after exchanging pleasantries is reinforce and cement her placement within the society that she sees herself living in, and where that societal scope and lens that she sees through, as well as the people who see the world the same way she does, where they place Vivek, right? And that means that he is somewhere that is not equatable to where they're at. And she had to really double down and make sure he understood that before they could even get into the interview. Even listening to the way that it's said, it wasn't, I'm not voting for you, or I didn't vote for you because I don't like your policy, or this is who my candidate is and I'm really riding with them. And mind you, Vivek is not even running for office at this point. He done already lost. Now, I have heard that there's conversations that, he's in the running to possibly be the VP with Orange Man. I don't really see it, and I say that because I think for Trump likes to be the star of the show. He's going to want somebody who knows how to shut up, and Vivek talks too much for Trump. Trump is not about to compete for camera time against Vivek, so I can see Vivek maybe possibly being somewhere else in Trump's cabinet if Trump gets back in, but VP, I don't know about that one. But anyway, he's not even running for office. But Ann had to remind him right off the jump, absolutely not. You are not getting through that door. So even the way that it's said, I'm not voting for you because you're an Indian. Not even, I'm not voting for you because you're Indian, but I'm not voting for you because you're an Indian. That emphasis on "an" highlights the context of delineation and separation, placing him in a space where he is not of the same space as her, right? Placing the idea of being an Indian as being an other, something being wrong with it, being in a space where you are not the norm. You're the anomaly, and because of that, you will never get to operate in these spaces that we've created in regard to maintaining a status quo, because you're not supposed to be in that spot. So yes, we're happy for you, but that's where it stops. That's her way of saying that no matter how many accolades you have, no matter how successful you are, no matter how well you play the game, no matter how many anti-black talking points or white nationalist talking points you want to latch onto, no matter how high you ask to jump and you jump way above it and do something, there's going to be a limitation to the scope of how far they're going to let you get, because at the end of the day, somebody like Ann Coulter and a lot of the people who share her same viewpoints, they are never going to give you the value of their whiteness. They will never let that go, because that is the status quo that they are going to maintain and hold on to, because that is what makes them feel validated, right? And by you getting that same kind of validation, it literally eliminates the purpose of a lot of people's existence if that were the case. And so for that, oh no, you don't get to go in that door. And so again, that idea of you will never get the value of my whiteness. And what I mean by that is she is literally telling him to his face on his own platform that he is a guest in the very space that he's trying to solidify himself in, mainly because she feels that she and the collective in which she comes from built all of this, and he is a guest. Imagine that. There's no way you're going to come on my platform disrespecting me and I'm just going to sit there and take it. And the thing is, it's not just limited to Vivek, because there are so many people who run around here thinking that because they are successful or because they fall within a certain scope of intelligence, that automatically it grants them access into all these spaces. But please understand, white America collectively will never give the keys of power to somebody who is not white, because that affects their livelihood. That affects their status quo and how they see themselves and their placement within the world stage. So absolutely not. And so unfortunately, lots of people learn this the hard way, whether it's Vivek, whether it's Nikki, whether it's going to be Tim Scott later down the line, all these different folks who will eventually learn this. And the crazy part about all of it is Vivek can't even get mad, right? Because if he gets mad, it's a contradiction of his entire platform, because he's built an entire brand and identity on the concept of being a raceless politician, raceless public figure. He's a racist heritage. He's a race where it is he comes from. And mind you, he's from Ohio, but when I say where he comes from, his family is Indian, right? But he's a race, all of that. The traditions, the customs, all that is never a part of his conversation. He's run on the concept of the idea that racism no longer exists, and if you work hard, you can achieve it. And that's the brand that he's built, right? He's even endorsed the idea of rolling back policies that help to enhance the idea of civil rights. He's somebody who's gotten behind the idea of punitive policy and policy that is oppressive, because it means that he can get a political come up and political points with audiences that, again, still see other groups of people as beneath them. He's latched onto all of that. So his entire brand is the idea of being raceless. So if he were to sit there and say, you know what, Ann, I didn't like how you said that, or I take offense to that, or you know what, actually, you can leave my show, oh, that would have done a whole bunch of different things because one, that would bring up that ugly thing he's been trying to hide, his race, right? That would remind his audience that, okay, you know what, now we're being reminded that yes, this man is Indian, right? So the very thing that he's been trying to hide and run from, Ann Coulter reminded him of and said, oh no, this is what you are. And because of that, this is where you're going to be placed. And so for Vivek, if he gets mad, he's a contradiction of the very brand that he's created, so he can't get mad, which is why Vivek just sat there and took it. And what makes it so funny, let me just go a bit further, because then, you know, he also had a response. This was his response to everything that had happened, because a lot of people were like, what the heck, you know, what is he going to say here? This is his response. Ann Coulter told me flat out to my face that she couldn't vote for me because you're an Indian, even though she agreed with me more than most other candidates. I disagree with her, but respect. She had the guts to speak her mind. It was a riveting hour. The Truth Podcast is back. Vivek, get up! Get up! Like, Lord! Oh my gosh. But, you know, the funniest bit is, again, he can't say anything else because it would go against his brand. Case in point, let's see the responses of the people who actually admire him. This is a masterclass in how to have a conversation. Ann tells Vivek she wouldn't have voted for him because of his Indian ethnicity, basically not white or white mixed. Vivek's conversation with her is pure gold. Much to learn from this temperament. He didn't call her racist, he didn't abuse her, he didn't sir her, he didn't even mock her. Just pure class and maintain his dignity in the process. Vivek is just brilliant. This is a masterclass on how to have a conversation on pure logic and without racist, bigot, fascist, and Hitler as keywords. At this point, he is being rewarded for being a pet. That's literally what it is. He's being rewarded for being a good boy. He's being rewarded for not bringing up that ugly issue of race. So now it's this thing where we're supposed, well, not we, this is him and his folks. I ain't got nothing to do with this. But it's this idea of now he's supposed to sit here and be on the receiving end of racist everything and just remain poised because that's the way to do things. And I'm just like, crazy. And what was funny with his statement is, you know, he's like, well, Ann Coulter was brave enough to say it. I'm like, it's Ann Coulter. When has she ever been afraid to say anything to anybody? And especially, not to be rude, Vivek, who are you? If you think Ann Coulter was going to be afraid of you in anything, no, she already doesn't see you as her equal, so why would she be afraid? She's literally moving within her brand because her brand has become, you know, say as many terrible things and do all the outrage because that's how she's gotten rich. So why would she all of a sudden walk on eggshells because she's on your show? No, that's not how this works, right? And so it's absolutely crazy. But let me tell you where race can come in, because it's very noticeable that, you remember, she got in that little black joke she had to throw in about the whole articulate thing. She, I couldn't have said it if it was an American black. You know, she has that ugly laugh, right? And then what does Vivek do? You know, he laughing too, and I'm sitting here looking like, don't worry, you about to be next, while you sitting here thinking you're exempt. Because understand, they recognize that sometimes their proximity to whiteness also correlates with how anti-black they can latch onto, because they recognize that America's hatred for black people collectively will get them some extra points if they can play the role, right? They are buying and fighting for a white appreciation certificate in the mail every single time. And so it's just very entertaining to watch. A hot mess. And to me, I think it's sad when you have to erase who you are in order to be validated in some spaces, especially in spaces that really don't want you to be there in the first place. But because you're speaking their language, they'll let stuff slide. Because understand, he has an audience. He has people who like him. He has people who follow his platform. But again, that's because he doesn't talk about race. It's made him digestible to white America, because there's another conversation in regard to what we saw with the race. And I said this with Nikki as well, because both him and Nikki Haley are both Indian Americans. But the difference between Ramaswamy and Nikki is, Nikki can pass for a white woman. A lot of people did not know that she was not a white woman and that both of her parents are Indian. But Vivek, everybody knows who he is, so he has to become over performative, which is why I think he was really over the top in a lot of the debates, to the point where it was unbearable to watch. Like, what is this dude is doing a lot? But you literally watch him be, you're almost to the space where he has to overcompensate to say, look, I'm nothing like what you think, I'm just like you, right? And so I think of Iowa, right? I think of when it was still primaries and caucuses, right? And he had said, if I can win in Iowa, I can win this entire GOP nomination. And I knew right then when he said that, I said, yeah, white America is not letting him have this. Not at all. And especially his campaign slogan was what? A new American dream? I said, ooh, yeah, and you won't be the face of it, because to them, that's already fallen in line with that whole great replacement theory thing, right? Yes, they have an American dream, but you're not a part of it, and you won't be calling any shots. I knew it was going to go down like that. And so he goes in Iowa. Campaigned in all 99 counties, the only candidate to do so. Went to over 270 events. He went, he shook hands, he gave speeches, he was kissing the babies, he was petting the dogs. You know, he was working the ice cream machine and passing it to the kid. Here you go. Doing everything that an ideal candidate would do, right? He was even rapping. He put on his hat. I'm cool now. Rapping Eminem songs. Eminem sent a cease and desist. Said, don't you ever perform my music again. But anyway, he's done all these things. And so you would have thought that even if he lost, he should definitely have a huge element of the vote, a huge portion, right? What did he end up getting? 8,400 votes in the whole state. 7% of the vote. Fourth place, pretty much last, because at that point it was only between Orange Man, DeSantis, Nikki, and Vivek, right? Fourth place, right? Trump didn't even campaign and still got 52% of the vote, right? That kind of just shows him to his face where people see him. And so, again, it's wild to me. And so it's just like, Vivek, imagine that. And just to double down, I want to revisit this. Now, this was coming from an interview that Vivek's wife had done with some Iowa voters as to why they weren't supporting. Let's go to the quotes. No, I came when I was 4. Vivek was born and raised in Cincinnati, Apoorva Ramaswamy replied, explaining her family's Indian heritage. The attendee continued with questions about Apoorva Ramaswamy's parents, where they lived, and whether they had green cards. They are citizens. Before remarking that she doesn't have an accent. I've been here since I was 4 years old, Apoorva Ramaswamy replied. I've spoken English since I was 4. In an interview after the event, Niskanen explained that he loves foreign people, citing what he described as his 2 unofficially adopted children. He said he asked about Apoorva Ramaswamy's upbringing because of the bad things the Ramaswamys say about the state of the country. He has not yet decided who he will support at the caucus, but he said it won't be Ramaswamy. Apoorva Ramaswamy had a simple ask for 2 supporters of her husband's presidential campaign. What do people say about why they're not supporting Vivek Ramaswamy, and what answers can I help you provide? Well, the only one I have, and couldn't even remember who said it to me, but they mentioned his dark skin and they think he's Muslim. A supporter named Teresa Fowler told her at a restaurant meet and greet Thursday. I kind of set them straight on that. I don't know if they believe me or think I was covering for him. I don't know. So again, you see how that ugly thing of race still jumps in even when you think you can just run from it? And I just will also say this because I know people were saying, but he has his supporters and look at how the people were backing him on Twitter. My thing is this. If y'all supported him so much, why didn't y'all vote for him? And on that note, I'm out. Share your 2 cents, subscribe.